If you've had a chance to play the Lost Soul demo game included with AnyRPG Engine and you've been lucky enough to unlock the Ranger class, you may have noticed that you can now capture pets. That will follow you everywhere you go and attack enemies for you. But what happens if you want to make a pet from a third-party asset, and how does this whole pet system work anyway? Well, that's what we'll be covering in this tutorial. For this tutorial, I will be using AnyRPG Engine version 0.15, which is available from anyrpg.org/downloads as a free Unity package. You can also use AnyRPG Core, which is a free download from the Unity Asset Store. I will also be using the following free assets from the Unity Asset Store. I'll be using the Fantasy Forest Environment free demo from Triforge Assets, which includes a great demo scene with a really nice looking forest in it. I will be using the Wolf Animated, which is a free asset from DZen Games, which is just a nice wolf which contains some decent attack animations. I will also be using the Egypt Pack Eagle for free from Open Lab, which is a cool looking eagle with also some nice attack animations. All of the assets will import cleanly except for the eagle, which will give us 2 console errors just due to how old this asset is. We can just basically delete the scripts directory and these errors will go away. So I'll open up Egypt Monsters, open up the scripts directory and just click delete, and that problem will be solved. Both of the assets need some minor cleanup performed on them, so let's start with the eagle. The eagle has an included attack animation, eagle_attack. We need to open up the events tab there and delete the deal damage animation event. We don't have an animation receiver function for deal damage, so we'll get an error if this animation event is left in there, and we can just click apply. Next, we need to find the eagle_normal prefab in the prefabs eagles directory. You'll see an error about a missing script. We can just remove that component. We also need to set the controller to none because AnyRPG will automatically override the controller with the built-in AnyRPG controller. Next, we need to make some minor adjustments to the wolf, so we'll look in the wolf directory. If you see there's already a wolf prefab, but if you look at him, he's huge. He's like 4.5 meters long, and this is because if you look at the transform, you can see his scale is internally set to 2.54. To figure out what a good proper scale for this wolf would be on import, we can just open up the calculator and do 1 divided by 2.54, which gives us a value of 0.39, so approximately 0.4. Let's go to the models, and we'll grab all of these models right here, go to the Model tab, set the scale factor to 0.4, and click Apply. You can see that the existing prefab is now looking a little bit stretched and distorted, so we'll have to make our brand new prefab. So what I'm going to do is just grab the wolf_breathes. I'm going to pull it into the scene, make sure everything is position rotation 0 and scale is at 1, and then I am going to go into the prefabs directory and just drag the wolf_breathes into that prefab directory. We also want to make sure that the wolf_breathes has a proper material on him, so he's not silver anymore. To do that, we can go into the material directory, click on the wolf material, and we need to then find the wolf material, which is under wolf1, and I'll drag the wolf material onto him, and now the wolf's material on the new prefab is fixed, and I can just save that. With that bit of minor cleanup out of the way, we can now create the game. I'm going to go to Tools, AnyRPG, Wizard, and New Game Wizard. I'm going to name the new game Pets. I'm going to name the first scene Forest. I'll click on Copy Existing Scene. Then I'll look for the demo scene in the Fantasy Forest environment, which is in the Scenes directory. I'll pull in Demo Scene Free and click on Create. Once the new game wizard completes, it's time to install some template content. So I'll go to Tools, AnyRPG, Wizard, Template Content Wizard, and we need to install 3 pieces of template content. First, we're going to install the Fighter Character Class. So we look for the Fighter Character Class template package. This is because we need to give our animals a character class, otherwise they're really not going to do any damage. Next, I'm going to install the Ranger specialization, so I'm going to click on the Ranger class specialization template package. This will include the Capture Beast and Charm Pet abilities, which are basically at the core of the pet system, and you pretty much need them to work. Next, I'm going to install the enemy faction. The enemy faction will just make sure that I can put some aggressive pets in the scene and they will attack me. Then I'll click install and wait for that template content to finish installing. We need to create characters for the models that we imported, so we'll go to Tools, AnyRPG, Wizard, and New Character Wizard. I'm going to scroll down to the Wolf Animated folder here and find the prefabs. I'll pull in the Wolf Breathes prefab. I'll make sure to hit Create Unit Spawn Node so it creates a spawner for him. The head bone is empty, so I actually need to find a head bone. If I scroll down, we can see that the Wolf Hub 005 is a pretty good place. So I'll just paste that into the head bone slot because there was no head bone called head, and this will make sure that the unit frame has a place to focus. This stuff doesn't matter under weapon attachments because the wolf isn't going to carry any weapons. I do need to assign his animations though, so I'm going to go into the model folder. I'll type T: animation clip and make sure that model is selected so it'll limit it to just the ones in that folder. I'll pull them into the assign clips. I'm going to click my mouse in any other field, enter some garbage input, and it will have auto-assigned most of the clips. It couldn't find a damage clip because that was spelled wrong, so I'll pull that into there. It couldn't find an idle clip because his idle clip is called breathes, so I will pull that into there as well. I'm going to click on Full Combat Mirror because the wolf doesn't have specific combat animations, so it'll just use the out of combat animations for the combat animations. There aren't any other animations that would really be applicable to this, so I can go ahead and just click on Create and click OK. Next, let's do the eagle. I'm going to go to Tools, AnyRPG, Wizard, and New Character Wizard. Again, I'm going to scroll up to the Eagles folder here, and under Prefabs Eagles, I can just remove that previous search that I had and pull in the eagle normal into the character model. I'm also going to remember to click Create Unit Spawn Node so I get a unit spawn node. The eagle normal also doesn't have a bone that's named head, and so I'm just going to look through all of these joints until I find something like this joint 15 that looks like it's approximately at his head, and paste that into the head bone slot. Weapon attachments I'm going to leave blank, and once again I need to find his animation clips, so I will go into the animations folder under Eagles, type in T: animation clip, make sure that Eagles is selected so we're limited to just the ones in this folder. I'll select all the animations, move them into assign clips, put my mouse in any other field, enter some garbage input, delete the garbage input. Everything's been auto-assigned mostly. It didn't assign though walk and run clips. Now technically the eagle flies, but because flying is the same for him as walking and running, we're just going to pull in eagle fly into the walk clip and the run clip. It didn't assign a take damage clip, so I'll move eagle damaged into the take damage clip. That looks pretty good. I'll click Full Combat Mirror because once again he doesn't have any specific combat animations, and we'll see the death clip was assigned to eagle die, so I can go ahead and click on Create. Next, I do need to fix up the eagle's attack animation, so I am going to go into this folder here. I'm going to click on the eagle attack, and it's showing the wolf model in there, so I'm just going to pull in the eagle normal into the preview box here. If we scroll down and look for the Events tab and open that up, we will find that there is a hit event, which is when the eagle's attack animation should tell the animation controller to do its damage. However, if we look through the animation, we can see that the eagle's damage should occur somewhere around here, not around the middle where this hit event is. So what I'll do is I'll just drag this back to where I think the damage should occur, maybe about there, and then I'll move the hit event backwards to match up with that time in the animation and click apply. Now the damage will be done at the correct place in the animation. Now that all the content is installed, it's time to configure our scene. I'm going to click on the camera and just delete it. AnyRPG has our own camera, so we don't need that camera. Next, I'm going to go to the directional light and change the light intensity to 1.5 so our scene looks a little more naturally colored and not quite so yellowish. I'm also going to go to the terrain, make sure that it's set to static, and then go to Window and AI and Navigation and bake a nav mesh on the scene so that our enemy creatures can properly run around. We can also set the default spawn location for the character, so I'm just going to zoom in to what looks like a good spot for my character to spawn in right here. And I'm going to middle click on the ground on this path here and click on the default spawn location and hit Ctrl Alt F on my keyboard, which will bring the default spawn location to where I just middle clicked. Let's add some spawners to the scene now so that we can have our animals spawn. To do that, I am going to find the Games folder under Prefab under Unit Spawn Node, and we can see we have an Eagle Normal and Wolf Breathes unit spawn node. I want to place them slightly away from the character so the character doesn't get jumped on immediately. So I'm just going to go over here and drag one of these Eagle unit spawn nodes over to here. Let's put a Wolf unit spawn node in, so I'll head over to this hill over here, and I'll put a Wolf unit spawn node over here. Let's put in another enemy unit spawn node, so I'm going to head down to this end near this hill, and I will put in another Eagle unit spawn node, and let's just drag a fourth one into the scene as well. So I'm going to head over to this hill over here, and I'll drag another Eagle unit spawn node in there as well. I'm going to turn it around so it's more sort of facing the character. I want to make sure it's looking at the local rotation handle there, and that looks pretty good. I'm also going to make a screenshot of the eagle to use on his unit profile. I won't make one for the wolf, and I'll just be able to demonstrate the difference between what happens when you do and don't have one. So I'm going to double click on the Eagle Normal, then I'm going to go to Tools, AnyRPG, Wizard, and Screenshot Wizard, and I'm just going to zoom the eagle out a little bit here, and that's pretty much perfect. I can go ahead and click on Create, and it created a screenshot for me. If I go down to the Screenshots folder, you can see there's now an Eagle Normal. Let's go to the inspector and just set that to a sprite 2D in UI and click Apply, and now we've got a picture of the eagle to use on his unit profile. Let's go set up the unit profiles now. We can see that I have an Eagle Normal unit profile here. I'm going to click on Icon, type in Eagle, and assign that Eagle Normal icon that I just created. Next, I want to make sure that I give this guy a character class so that he can do damage, and I'm going to give him the Fighter character class. I will also do the same with the Wolf. I will give him the character class. I think I just clicked on the wrong one. Yeah, character class, and give him the Fighter character class as well. We also need to assign a faction so that they're going to aggro us, so I will assign an enemy faction. Otherwise, both of these guys will just be neutral, so that'll make sure that they are actually aggressive. Finally, I'll set the aggro radius for both of them. If you see right now, the aggro radius is 20 meters, but they're actually that close to the character as soon as he spawns. So let's set the aggro radius to 10 meters so the character can walk around with a little bit of freedom before getting attacked. Now let's set up the player character. First, I should find the class specialization for the ranger and make sure that it is available as a new game option. By default it's not, which means we wouldn't actually be able to get the capture pet abilities right out of the box without adding a specialization change trainer. So by clicking new game option, we'll be able to select ranger right away. We should also go to the character class folder, and what I'll do is basically uncheck the fighter class as a new game option so that we can only select the archer character class and the ranger class specialization. Because those are the only two available, they'll just be auto assigned. There is one other thing that I need to do, and that is to create a unit type. You can see that by default there is a beast unit type included, but we need to make a filter for humanoids so that our beasts don't get some of the humanoid fighter abilities. So I'm just going to create a humanoid unit type by hitting Control D to duplicate the beast and then changing the name to humanoid. We'll change the name up here to humanoid as well. And you can see that we have some capabilities right here. We don't need to worry about this. What we're going to do is we're going to change the capabilities in the actual fighter class itself. So let's go to character class. We'll go to fighter character class. Then you can see that we have some capabilities here, for example a punch combo, which doesn't really make sense for those beasts that we assigned the fighter class to. We also have leather and fist. Those don't really make sense either. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this whole capabilities block. I'm going to go down to unit type capabilities, click the plus sign. I'm going to add one unit type to the list. I'll choose humanoid, and then under capabilities I'll just paste that bit that I copied earlier. Now I will go back to the capabilities and just set that to 0 for that, 0 for that, and 0 for that. Now the only unit type that will get those capabilities is humanoid, so our little beast guys won't get those. Let's make sure that our player character is set to humanoid so that he actually properly gets the right capabilities. In this case it doesn't really matter because he's not a fighter, but it's just a good thing to do anyway. So under the UMA player unit, we are going to look for the unit type name and set his name or his unit type to humanoid. With all of that set up out of the way, we'll make sure to save the scene, and then we can press play and start experimenting with the pet system. When we click on the play option and the new game option, we can see that our class is set to archer and our specialization is set to ranger by default. Let's start the game. With the game loaded, you can see that the character has a number of abilities on his action bars. We have Charm Pet and Capture Beast, which are the two most relevant. Now you'll see that if I click on the eagle here that I have two red dots here indicating that this ability cannot actually be cast. Let's go ahead and change that. Let's take a look at the abilities to see why they can't be cast. First, we're going to go to the Pets folder and look at the base ability folder. The relevant abilities are the Capture Beast ability and the Charm Pet ability. If we look at the Charm Pet ability, we can see that there is one ability effect name here which is cast called Charmed Pet, and it's using ability effect targeting. So if we go to the ability effect folder and look at status effect and look at the Charmed Pet effect, if we go to the target options, we can see that it has a unit type restriction of beast, meaning that it can only be cast on characters with a unit type of beast. We'll find a similar thing if we look at the Capture Pet or the Capture Beast ability. If we scroll down and look at the Capture Pet Effect configured underneath it, we can see that this also has a unit type restriction of beast. So in order to make these animals capturable, they have to be set to beasts. So what we'll do is we'll go to the unit profile and click on both the eagle and the wolf, and then under unit type name We'll set them both to Beast, and now we should be able to use those abilities on at least one of them, not both of them, and I'll show you that in a second. Now with the game loaded, I can select the eagle, and you can see that the charm pet is available, but the capture beast is not available. If we run up to the eagle, he can start attacking us, and I can use the charmed pet ability on him, and now I have the eagle as a temporary pet. You can see that the eagle has a status effect on him, and it's got that little heart there, meaning that it is indeed a temporary pet. If I go to the character tab and open up the pets window, it's completely blank and there are no pets in there. That's because the charm pet ability just allows you to temporarily take a pet. As soon as you log off or leave the zone, then this pet will no longer be a pet. Let's see how you can use the capture beast ability to get a permanent pet. If we look at the unit profile for the eagle or the wolf, you can see that is pet is not checked. Let's go ahead and check that for the eagle. We'll also check it for the wolf, and what that means is that these units are now capturable as permanent pets. Let's see how that works. Back in the game, you can see that if I approach the eagle normal, now there are no more red dots, and I can either charm the eagle or capture him as a permanent pet. Let's go ahead and capture him as a permanent pet. The eagle is now captured. You can see that there's no temporary status effect on him. If I look at the character tab and hit pets, then I now have an eagle and he's showing up there, and you can see his little icon there. Let's go ahead and try to capture one of the wolves. Now I've captured the wolf, and he is also a permanent pet. I'm going to click on the pets window. You can see a little question mark here. That's because earlier when we captured the wolf, we didn't set that icon on him and we didn't take a screenshot of him, so it's just showing a question mark. You can see that the wolf was a little bit too far zoomed in and the eagle is a little bit too far up. Let's see how we can fix that in the display. To fix that, I actually want to set the unit prefab props and look at the nameplate props, and what we're looking for is the unit preview settings here. These settings control how far away our camera is from the unit and where that camera is positioned. Let's expand this tab so we can see what the labels are saying. This is the look offset, which is where the camera is looking, and this is the position offset, which is where the camera is actually located. For the eagle, he's flying about 2 meters up in the air, so I'm just going to set the look and the position to Y values of 2. For the wolf, he's nice and short, and so it was looking at approximately the right place, basically about half a meter, but it's not quite far enough away. Let's set that to a value of 2 and see how that looks. I also want to change the names of these units. You can see that in the game it was called eagle_normal. Let's go ahead and just change that to eagle. Also, the wolf was called wolf_breathes. Let's go ahead and just change that to wolf. I will also want to change the character name here, which is what's displayed over their head, to eagle, and change the character name here to wolf. We'll also need to change the unit spawners for that. So under the unit spawn node, for the eagle normal unit spawn node, under unit profile names, I just want to set that to eagle. For the wolf breathes unit spawn node, I will want to change the unit profile name just to wolf. Now, in the game, we can see that the eagle is now showing his name as eagle. Let's capture him and take a look at our pets window, and there we go. Now the eagle is properly centered. He's not flying around at the top of the screen. Let's do the same for the wolf. We'll go ahead and capture him as well. And you can see that the wolf is also more properly zoomed out, so his head isn't sticking off the top of the screen either. So far, we've been concentrating on capturing the pets, but what if you actually want to start with a pet without having to first capture it? Well, we can definitely do that. Let's go to the class specialization folder. We'll go to Ranger Specialization, and we can look under the capabilities here. You can see the two abilities that this specialization gets, as well as the valid pet types that he can capture. Next, what we can do is actually set one of these units as a starting pet. So I'm just going to add a starting pet, and I will add the eagle as the starting pet. Let's start the game and see what that looks like. With the game loaded, without actually having to capture anything, I can open up the character window, click on pets, and you can see that I now have the eagle as a pet. If I click the call pet button, then the eagle's going to come, and I can go back to the pets window, and I can click the dismiss button, and now I don't have the eagle with me anymore. If you have the AnyRPG engine installed, you'll also notice that there are some additional voice effects for monsters, including this beast one right here. Let's install these voice effects so that our wolf can growl at us instead of just remaining completely silent. To do that, we can go to Tools, AnyRPG, Wizard, Template Content Wizard, and search for Voice, and install the Engine Voice Profiles template package. Now let's look for the wolf unit profile. So we'll go back into our game folder, go down to the unit profile folder, we'll find the wolf breathes unit, and scroll down until we find the voice profile. Now we can just click on beast and make sure that use inline voice props is not checked, so it will actually use that profile. Let's aggro the wolf and see how that sounds. As you could hear, the wolf was growling when he aggroed us, and growling when he took damage, and growled when he died. Let's look at another way that we can improve the pets. By default, the attack ability launches an effect called the attack effect. If we look at the attack effect, we can see that it has a white hit ability object associated with it and an on-hit audio profile of punch hits. This leads to a situation where when the animal attacks you, it actually sounds like he's punching you. If you have the full AnyRPG engine installed and you search the project for the word bite, you'll find bite effect and bite hit audio. You can duplicate those two and pull them into your project. We'll put the bite effect under ability effect, and we'll put the bite hit audio under audio profile. Then we'll just want to remove the 1 from the end of each of them. You can assign the bite attack effect to the eagle and the wolf by going to their unit profiles, selecting them, and looking for the default hit effects under combat. When we add the bite attack to this, it will replace the default attack effect and instead use the bite attack effect. There is one other change that we need to make to it due to the difference in naming between the Lost Soul project and our own project. If we go to the bite effect, there isn't a prefab called blood squirt, but there is a blood hit, so we can use that one instead. We'd also need to remove the extra hit ability effect name of white hit, since that doesn't exist in our project either. Now, when the eagle attacks us, we should hear a sound like a bite instead of a sound like a punch, and instead of seeing a white visual effect coming from the character, we should see a red blood visual effect coming from the character. And that looks a lot better. When you create a character with the new character wizard, it assigns them the default footstep loop, and that doesn't really make sense for the eagle. Let's see what that sounds like. So we basically get sounds where the eagle is playing footsteps even though the eagle is not walking around on the ground. Let's see how we can fix that. To do that, there is included with AnyRPG a grass footstep hits. So what we need to do is adjust the eagle's animation so that when he flaps his wings, we're going to play a footstep sound, and that footstep sound will be the grass hits because it's a lot more like a wing flapping sound. To do that, I'm going to go into the Egypt Monsters Animations Eagles folder, and I'm going to look for the eagle fly animation. Let's scroll down, open up the Events tab, and I'm going to look for when he actually flaps his wings, so right about here is good. I'm going to add an animation event, and I'm going to call that one Play Footstep. Good. Now whenever he flaps, we should hear a better sound. So we just need to update his unit profile to actually recognize that. So I'm going to go down to the unit profile folder. I'm going to go to the eagle unit, make sure I hit apply on those animation events. I'm going to find where he's using the default footstep loop. I'm going to check play on footstep. I'm going to switch this to unit only because if we do set up different footstep sounds like rocks and such in the game, we want it to ignore it and only play whatever is configured on his unit. And then I'm going to use the grass footstep hits, or footstep hits grass. Now let's see what that sounds like. And that's a lot better. Now he's playing a sound that sounds much more like wings flapping. That's pretty much all there is to know about pets for now. So if you enjoyed that video, then please do give the video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the AnyRPG YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.